let's go ahead and get into some of the news recently. So apparently, former PlayStation boss says the impact of AI on gaming is basically the same as the impact of Excel on certified public accountants. I don't know how I should feel about that. As you still had to have enough knowledge. Now I get what he might be saying, but we'll dive into it a bit. And I have advanced and I have started highlighting shit. Okay, so I'm learning. Okay, so but PlayStation's ex-boss Sean Layden thinks generative AI's impact on gaming industry is being largely overestimated, and I can't read. I'm dyslexic. Tech won't lead to massive cost reductions like some CEOs are drooling for. Sorry. And I think he does make a good point here. I think that a lot of companies are using the AI buzzwords and stuff to try to sell it to shareholders, investors, yada yada yada. And I think that a lot of it's just a way to draw attention to it, and they don't really know what they're talking about. They just use it to make themselves sound like they're innovative. I see a lot of estimation or prognostication about how AI is going. I'm sorry that I cannot read. Leave me alone. Is going to revolutionize gaming from mostly people who are not in gaming, saying that I think there are ways it helps to accelerate certain functions. And he does make a good point. A lot of the people that are trying to push AI in any form of tech, most of them don't have anything to do with that tech. They are just business, like suit and tie kind of guys sitting up in an office. They don't know anything about the tech. They're just there to try to sell a brand or push a brand forward or push, a business forward or whatever. They know nothing about the actual business itself. And so I can definitely get down with that. That is something I can agree with. But he instead views AI through the same lens that accountants might have viewed Excel when it was newer. Now, this is probably going to come off as really dumb to a lot of people, but while it's not a very good, analogy or something to draw from, I do see what he's trying to get at. And basically all he's trying to do is say that, AI, isn't an end all be all, and it's not going to cut cost across the board. What it can, however, do is make things easier and more streamlined if used in a way that it was technically made to do or can be made to do. I see the impact of AI in gaming as the impact of Excel on certified public accountants. It was better to have a macro. It was better to have a macro and do your sums that way rather than on adding machine. And yes, so Excel kind of like accelerated like a lot of like busy work, and Excel kind of took that and automated a lot of that kind of learning process or calculations and whatnot. But accountants still had to have enough knowledge to realize what it is they're doing. And so I do see what he's saying, whether the sums were correct and how to interpret the numbers thereafter. So while you do have AI programs that can streamline and do a lot of things for you and kind of alleviate some of the pressure, you still have to be able to go in and do things and add to it and take away mistakes that the AI might make, because all AIs are fucking not anywhere close to being perfected yet. So there is a lot of extra work that has to go into it, and so you still have to have that human side to it to kind of alleviate some of that. And I think that's what he's trying to get at here, is that people just want there to be this AI program that does all the work for them, so they don't have to hire, they only have to hire like a handful of people and just have like a handful of people pump a bunch of prompts into AI and then get this amazing product out of it. And that's not really what's happening. There's no way you can, realistically and logically do something like that and expect good results. It's not going to happen. On a semi-related note, Layden also mentioned that outsourced development, something used by a lot of game companies to also reduce cost, has improved over the generations. And while yes, there is a lot of outsourcing, so like you got your contract workers, you have all different forms of third-party contracts and whatnot that are used in game development. And while it does somewhat help reduce cost, it's not reducing cost as much as people might think it is. But again, it's like he said, it's still improving. It's not like at a great stance yet, but it has gotten better over the years. Sometimes in the early days, it would have been cheaper to do it ourselves instead of having it redone 9 times because we just couldn't get a meeting of the minds with the outsourcing company overseas and the developers here. And he does make a good point that a lot of the outsourcing that they do and a lot of contract work, a lot of it does happen, in a different state, a different country. And so there's a lot of like communication errors, and, it's kind of like playing a game of, telephone tag or whatever you want to call it. I don't know what you want to call it, but yeah, a lot of stuff gets lost in translation and stuff like that. So yeah, I definitely see where he's coming from. Now the connection between core development teams and engineering resources in Taiwan or art resources in Malaysia, I think those are getting better optimized all the time. Now, I don't really know what any of that means, so I can't really speak to it. Billy's not sure that AI and better outsourced talent will actually create deceleration of cost. And that is right there, that's a key issue all the way across the board, across any gaming studio. They're not using AI for what they technically could be using it for, to actually like reduce that cost and, generate better results. They want, a lot of these bigger companies just want the AI to do all the work for them, as in, pump a few prompts into it, get this, amazing result, push it to the end. And that's not what has to happen. And it goes back to the, his example of using when Excel first came out, it streamlined a lot of processes for a lot of people. And it was, something that was, I guess you could consider it like one of the first like real like machine learning kind of things, even though it was basically just a glorified calculator. That's really all it was. But it just made things a lot easier. And that's what AI can do for some of this stuff. But that's not what they're trying to use it for. They're not trying to use it to streamline things. They're trying to use it as a way to basically alleviate any form of creativity. And I think that's where a lot of the issues are going to stem from. But yeah, no, I can understand where he's coming from, but at the same time, I think it's kind of like a bad analogy to use Excel versus AI as like your point of contention. So I don't know. It's still a hot topic, and I think it's interesting to see him actually talk about it and kind of give like a different perspective on it. But overall, I think that this is probably one of the more realistic viewpoints I've seen. Sorry, on this topic. As far as yes, there's AI, but is it being used in a way that it should be used? No, not in the slightest. So I don't know. We'll see. Time will tell, but I think we all know what it's going to lead to.